Good morning and welcome to this Strategic Plan Town Hall. I'm Alex Lakowski, AVP of Communications. We all know these words from the University of Maryland Baltimore mission statement: to improve the human condition and serve the public good of Maryland and society at large through education, research, clinical care, and service. But how to accomplish that mission is a very complicated matter indeed, particularly when the challenges we face and the needs of those we serve are always changing. So that's why we're here to formulate a plan with goals and strategies to meet them. And to help us stay on target, we also need to identify ways to measure success. So every 5 years, UMB designs a 5-year strategic plan. This one will span the years 2027 to 2031. We prepare and utilize these 5-year strategic plans because they are effective. And also, as most of you know, they're part of our regular reaccreditation process. Although our mission doesn't change, these 5-year plans afford UMB the flexibility to periodically adjust our focus to best meet the demands of the day and to craft together the shape and texture of our future. I know many of the people joining us today are very familiar with the strategic planning process, so you know that the essential expression of that flexibility is the establishment of a set of strategic plan themes. These themes reflect our key priorities, our basic areas of focus, and should serve to help us align our goals, decisions, and actions. So get ready for some high-level discussion and some hands-on work at the same time. Please welcome the co-chairs of the 2027 to 2031 strategic planning process, Jenny Owens, Vice Provost of Academic Affairs and Strategic Initiatives, and Yolanda Ogbolu, the BIll and Joanne Conway Dean and Professor of the University of Maryland School of Nursing.
All right. Well, everybody, we're so glad to have such a great turnout today. I think we had 170 folks registered, and I see 130 already, so we're in good company this morning. So we're going to just kick right in. We have an action-packed hour for this group. So let's move on, Victoria, to the next one. Okay, so today we're going to talk big picture framing. We're going to frame where we're going. We're going to share a timeline and some milestones. And then we're going to share the themes, these drafted themes, and then we're going to break out and talk about them. You're going to have 2 themes that you can discuss in depth for 15 minutes each, and then we're going to come back together and do as an in-depth debrief as we can do in 15 minutes. So that's the ride we're taking today. Okay. So as we have these conversations, I ask that you facilitate and put on the hat of a strategic mindset. So you're stepping back in this moment to assess the broader landscape, and you're thinking institutionally. We're challenging you to think institutionally and not just within your school or your unit. So that's framing that we want you to lean into and adopt today. So just so we're all familiar with the structure of how this works, is that there's different layers of the strategic plan. So today we're talking about the theme, and you're familiar with the themes. They might be student success. They're short. There's the strategic objectives, which is often how we're defining the theme. And then there's the outcomes, like how do we know that we're successful in the theme? That's what we're focusing on today at a very high level. And then in June, this goes to USM, as Alex mentioned. And then schools and units have until January 1, 2027 to finalize their plans, and they make SMART goals in their individual schools and units that align with the themes, the objectives, and the outcomes. So that's where we are in space today. All right, I know you're excited about this slide. This is our timeline, and we started in November with our logistics. Our logistics team, I just want to say thank you, logistics. Feel free to use some cool emoticon in here to show your presence, but this group has been working tirelessly behind the scenes to keep us all on track. We also have our amazing steering committee. So steering, let's see some noise from steering. Steering is, there's about 30 individuals across schools and units who are nominated by their deans and VPs who have been leaning in and are helping facilitate the session today. So you'll see them all throughout the session. So we launched formally in January. We did an environmental scan, and I'll talk very, very briefly and high level about the scan. We started ideating themes, we reflected on our past themes, and we've had a couple drafts of themes so far. So what we're showing you here is the second draft of the themes. We've also consulted with deans and VPs one-on-one and in groups We've talked to most governance at this point. And then today is our second town hall. We had one on Monday with probably close to 100 people there. And then we have 2 more town halls to show more of the finalized project in May. But we're really excited that you're here. But this is our amazing spreadsheet that keeps us on track because time is short. All right. So when we talk about environmental scan, I could just go on and take the whole hour on this, but I won't do that. I won't do that. But what I want you just to sit with is that there's been a decade's worth of disruption in just 1 year. And here are some high-level things that we're tracking. And I'll leave these to you to reflect on. I know a lot of you are watching these things, you're seeing these things, you're feeling these things and living these things. We are too, and we take this moment very seriously and also take it as an opportunity and a really important opportunity to look at who do we want to be, how do we continue to do our work, and what are things to excite us and to move us towards, improving the human condition, which is our mission. But I leave this here with you briefly just to see some of the things that we're tracking. All right, and I'm going to hand it to Dean Ogbolu.
So good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. As we thought about the strategic plan for 2027 to 2031, we really wanted to be sure that we had a North Star. So we have some guiding principles that we've been using. And the main thing is that our mission, our vision, and our core values for the university are not changing. And so all of the themes and your feedback is guided by our mission, vision, and core values. We wanted to make sure that the strategic plan was people-centric by design, that it focused on the human element, really thinking about what does this mean for students, faculty, staff, and we've also heard alumni, as well as others that might not naturally fit into those buckets like postdocs. And then really important, letting the environmental scan kind of guide us to make sure we're making data informed and evidence-based decisions. And then it's been just great to have this transparent and inclusive process in terms of developing the themes. So we've met with many groups and we're delighted to be here today. When you think about the strategic plan and you look at the strategic themes that we've developed that are very much still draft and awaiting your feedback, we sought to make them broad, but also think about, do we have the resources? Are they measurable? Are they accountable? And it's important as you think about the theme to understand that not every unit will be able to implement every aspect of the strategic plan, but we're aiming that most organizations will be able to implement most of it. So if you look, you'll see that in 2021 to 2026, those are the themes there on the left. This is what we're finishing up as of June this year. And on the right, you see the draft number 2 for the themes and where we are now. So there's a quick snapshot for you, and then I'll just go through each of these really quickly, each of the 6 draft themes. So the first one is really about United for Impact. It's really about how can we act as one university. We know that we're a university of 7 schools, but we're one UMB. And so how do we become even more connected by a shared identity so that we can really adapt with speed to some of those things in the environmental scan that was shared earlier? So we're really focusing on 4 strategic outcomes, and one is grounded in how do we have a unified identity? One that speaks to our health, human services, and law professional focus. How do we align our decisions and our resources with our mission, vision, and core values and strategic plan in a way that helps with improved efficiencies, not just within one school or unit, but across multiple entities within UMB? How do we highlight the value of UMB academic programs. We heard quite a bit about the public may not fully understand the value of all of our programs. And then the fourth one is really about advocacy. How can we ensure that UMB is present and that our voice is readily available in Maryland in a way that strengthens health, legal, and human service systems? So that's theme one. Theme two, you might remember from the previous strategic plan, focused on student success. What was clear to the committees and the groups that have been involved so far is that without faculty and staff success, students cannot be successful. And so this is a very people-centric theme, and it's really focused on how do we attract and retain exceptional workforce? How do we help students to achieve academic excellence and progress? And then also holistic well-being and belonging for all members of the UMB community. This one we're really excited about is really thinking about future-ready graduate and professional education. We know that the landscape of higher education is changing. And so how do we prepare learners and our faculty to adapt and grow? And so this one focused on advancing interprofessional education, clinical and practice-based education in a way that allows our graduates to really lead in workforce systems. The second outcome we're aiming for is how do we open up space for really flexible, innovative curriculum pathways, including thinking about things like stackable learning and micro-credentials. And then, of course, faculty and staff need to develop the futuristic skills for these emerging technologies and new pedagogy. So finally, we want to expand our partnerships with more professional organizations and employers in a way that we're really meeting the demands of the healthcare and legal workforce. The next one is a big one for us, as many of us know from, the environmental scan, that research has been in a challenging position over the last year and a half. So we want to elevate, sustain, and grow research and scholarship at UMB, and do it in a way that advances IPE, that really promotes innovation, but also prioritizes the areas where UMB believes it can make outsized contributions. In order to do that, we need to strengthen the infrastructure. We also need to have the talent that is able to retain and develop the talent necessary for research. There's been a lot of discussion about how do we expanding in clinical, translational, and community engaged research, as well as other areas. And then really diversifying our portfolio, not just NIH, but industry, international, and how do we think about other sponsored research. So this theme number 5, the next to the last one, it's been quite a bit of discussion about this, but we're really excited about the possibility of UMB accelerating innovation and digital transformation for the future. And in order to do that, the focus is on developing digital literacy for faculty, staff, and students, to really strengthening our current infrastructure and also making sure people are aware some of these things like secured research environments that we already have. We've identified that not everybody's aware of that. So we want to expand the infrastructure and also increase awareness. And then as we're thinking about emerging technologies, which includes AI, but is not limited to AI, we want to make sure we advance that in a way that is ethical and responsible. And then we're really excited about people just having an opportunity to innovate. How do we create an environment where innovation is welcomed and individuals are allowed to experiment, learn, and scale? And the final theme is about deepening community and global engagement. And so this is really about how do we deepen our role as an anchor in the community, but also how do we focus on partnerships nationally and internationally. And so be able to do that in a way that develops trust and has really high impact partnerships. We also heard from students that they want more equitable opportunities to participate in experiential learning. We do allow our students to participate, but students felt it was not equitable. Number three really focused on how do we make sure faculty and staff have the capacity and also the rewards that are associated with community and global engagement. And then how do we measure and communicate UMB's impact with local and global communities? So these 6 themes are our starting point for today. And they're all listed here, but we're really excited to get your feedback on where we are so far. So I'll turn it back over to Jenny. Any comments, or to Alex?
I don't have any comments, I think. Alex, yeah. Alex, I can't hear you.
Yes, I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
Yes, so in a moment, I'm going to open the breakout rooms. And when I do that, you'll be able to enter whichever room you like. After about 15 minutes, you'll be able to move to a different room to engage in a discussion of a different theme. In each room, there will be a member of the committee who will help facilitate the conversation. So I will warn you that if just by random chance, we have one room that maybe is overfilled and other rooms that there aren't very many participants, you may be moved. So please be flexible because we want to have an engaging discussion of all the themes so we get the very best feedback. All right, so I'm going to open the rooms and go ahead and make your move.
All right. Oops. I think we need to pin Victoria. I might have that. Well, I'll jump in and then Victoria, I'll put you in. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I think everyone is coming back from the breakout rooms. We'll see everyone here soon. I think we got the.
I'm just going to say our breakout room was going really strong. We needed more time.
Oh, well, I love to hear it was going strong, and I wish I could give everyone more time for the things they enjoy. So I appreciate that feedback. All right. So everyone, welcome back from the breakout rooms. I hope you got a lot of good conversation going and a lot of good feedback. These are still very much drafted themes. They're very permeable and open to your feedback. And so we're going to be taking this feedback from today and from Monday and from everywhere else we're collecting it to continue to critically revise these themes. So just really appreciate your time and your energy this morning. So we have 13 minutes left, but who's counting? No, we have 13 minutes left. So I'm gonna pitch it to Victoria to do a Mentimeter just to get a little more feedback. And then we're gonna try our best to get as many report outs as possible. We will not get all of them. And if you are cut off for whatever reason, just write me an email, jowens@umaryland, and send any thoughts my way. Okay? All right. So Victoria, I'll pitch it to you.
Yes, thank you, Jenny, so much. So in the chat, I'm putting a Mentimeter code as well as a link that you can do menti.com to enter that code or click the link. It's going to lead you to the Mentimeter that we're doing right now. I'm also going to share my screen because if you are ones that like to use their phone and scan a QR code, you can also have that option too. This question that we are putting up here right now is really going to be a reflection on what we want to see or your thoughts from the community. And the question is, if UMB can make one bold move in the next 5 years to improve the human condition, what would it be? So again, you want to scan this QR code that's on your screen or go to menti.com to enter that code or use this link that I placed in the chat to go to that Mentimeter to enter your thoughts. And in a minute or so, or maybe a half a minute, I'll share my screen so everyone can see what people's thoughts are. I do see some thoughts entering the Mentimeter right now. Again, the question is, for those of you who want to think about it a little bit, if UMB could make one bold move in the next 5 years to improve the human condition, what would it be? We want you to scan that QR code, enter that code into menti.com, or just click that link that you see in the chat, and it will lead you right to that Mentimeter. I do see a few responses in there. We would love to see more responses as much as we can. Give you guys another like half a minute or so. Thank you all for your participation. If you could give me a thumbs up at the bottom, we would love to see those thumbs up coming in. You're not obligated to, but it would be nice. Okay, I get 3 thumbs up. I see that. Perfect. All right, so I'm actually going to stop sharing the PowerPoint because I believe the majority of us are in that Mentimeter. Again, the code and the link is in the chat if you want to add your final reflection. And I actually want to share my screen a little bit so you all can actually see what people are saying as far as what would be that next bold move that we would like to make in the next 5 years or so. All right, so hopefully everybody can see my screen right now. I'm going to scroll through and just read some of these. I'm not going to read all of them because you can see that we have 85 people signed in, 39 replied. I got 5 thumbs up. More thumbs up would be appreciated. Invest in youth development, create a central research hub for students across schools, value and fun technology, maybe, I think, or value and fun teaching. Yeah. For that. We need a mascot, 2 explanation points there. Trained more doctors, restore faith in institutions, invest time in public K through 12 schools across Maryland. Truly embrace the expertise we have here on campus as one university. Consider this in terms of interprofessional research, education, course availability, interaction among staff. Tuition-free nursing education in return for 3 years of service in a local underserved hospital. Hold more community events on campus, so for all local citizens to attend. These are great thoughts, folks. Thank you so much. Invest in library resources, collaborative initiatives with new technologies. Invest in non-traditional career paths, ways to better engage students, faculty, and staff in UMB and beyond. Invest in robust future-ready library spaces. All right. Thank you all for your participation. I think I'm going to turn it back to Jenny for that final debrief.
Thanks, Victoria. Appreciate the Mentimeter. So Dean Ogbolu did have to leave to an important obligation, so she's left me stag for the rest of the time. So let's really, we have 8 minutes, and I want to, if anyone wants to voice big takeaways from their group, and just not, hey, I liked this, but anything constructive or anything adding or subtracting or that we missed. Just curious to hear your thoughts. I know it can be intimidating in a room with a lot of people too, so encourage you to be brave. Okay, Fiamma?
Thank you. So one theme that I noticed across 2 rooms is how do we move beyond saying we are one unified university and like actually make that real, tangible, have infrastructure in place. The other thing that came up was how do you ensure that the outcomes are not just idealistic, but are actually pointing to true outcomes that can then be measured, that can be given resources, and so on.
Awesome. Thanks, Fiamma, our staff Senate president there leading the way. I see Dr. Erin Golombiewski.
Good morning. 2 comments from theme 5. One was that there are some thoughts around adding ethics and responsibility to the title of the theme, which I thought was a really interesting point. And the idea that AI, talking about AI within the strategic outcome might feel really 2026 by the time we get to 2030. And there's a lot of other great technologies out there that we want to invest in too, and specifying AI might not be the way to go.
Awesome. Thank you, Erin. That's good feedback, and things are certainly moving very rapidly, and that point is taken. I see Dr. Diane Forbes Berthoud.
Good morning again. So I was looking at the themes broadly, and I noticed that I think it's from themes 3 to the end, there's an action word before the other ones, like expand or advance or something like that. And for the first two, it's united for impact and faculty, staff, student success. So I'm wondering if for consistency, we say what we want with faculty, staff, student success, and how we are united for it. You know what I'm saying? Just to either just have the theme and the thing, or the action and the theme.
Thank you, Diane. I think that's a great point, of what's the action-oriented bit in each of here and how can we be explicit. Okay, Aaron Graham.
Similar to the in-person town hall, everyone in our groups that we polled rated this theme 5 as being very important to the future of UMB, regardless of their thoughts on the actual wording. And there was also a good discussion about the community impact of emerging technology and our responsibility to our local communities as well.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for that. So I'm calling people in the order that I see them, and if it's not the order that you raised your hand, we're going to blame Zoom. Okay, Sunday Jones.
Good morning, everyone. There was some discussion around ensuring that we have reasonable, tangible metrics. And with those metrics, the agility to continue to monitor progress is essential for being able to track what's working, what's not working, the ability to identify any gaps early on, and that agility that we need to be able to make timely adjustments to these plans if needed, timely and ongoing adjustments to support just overall continuous improvement effort. So putting those metrics in place, but also building in some agility to be able to make any sort of improvements as we identify a need to make changes.
I think that's a super important point. And a little bit of clarifying, Dean Ogbolu and I are responsible for planning. And then when we get to implementation, that'll go to Dr. Diane Forbes Berthoud's team. Historically in SPIMS, it's been 5 years. You put a goal in 5 years. And I think that's critical feedback to share because even this year, the assumptions in which we've operated have changed. And as assumptions change, we need to be flexible so we can still be responsive. So I think that's a point really well taken and something that's been discussed by the group as well. So thank you for sharing. I see Virginia.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the session. We had 2 groups on the community and global engagement theme. And I just want to make the comment there's obviously a lot of support for engagement at the 2 levels in research and teaching and service. And a lot of conversation about how the outcomes really reflect gaps in the ability to engage in community and global engagement. And so, again, this just goes to what others have commented on, that we should make a real effort to put whatever thinking or resources are necessary behind making the theme more than just aspirational. And that's because it is really a strategic, if it's in the strategic plan, it's a strategic goal. We've determined that it's important for the university. And so I think it's going to be really important on the implementation side to really think deeply, especially in a time of resource constraint, how we can achieve those goals and those outcomes. So I just wanted to share that was probably the primary outcome of both of our groups.
Yeah, thanks, Virginia. I think some of these goals are leaning on places where we're already strong, right? It's just like, okay, we're crushing it here. We're going to lean in here and we're going to leverage what is unique and strong. And then some of these goals are spaces where there are gaps, and how do we shore up what we need to shore up to continue to push, what is a competitive advantage. So I appreciate that feedback. So it's 9:58. We're going to do one more. Dr. Naya Wirtz.
Thank you, Jenny. So I had the future of the education, group 3, and two things really popped out. Affordability of education was a big theme, and also accountability. If we say that we want to be ready for the future and prepare our students, then that means that faculty, staff, and students need to be on the same page when it comes to what preparation is required. And we make sure we have skills and professional development to achieve that. That's it.
Thank you, Naya. All right. This has been great. Your feedback's been fantastic. A lot of notes have been taken. If you have more thoughts or feedback, you can write to anyone on logistics. You can write to me at jowens@umaryland. We really want your feedback to make this as good as it can be. I think UMB is a very special place. I think it has a very unique mission and one that I'm really proud to be a part of, and I'm really glad to be in community with all of you today. So thank you for coming.